Mark Twain once said, "The secret of getting ahead is getting started." The secret of getting started is breaking your complex, overwhelming tasks into small, manageable tasks. My overwhelming tasks is the Read What You Own challenge. I have a long way to go. I shall keep chunking forward. Hello, welcome to my channel. Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am a co-host for the 5th annual Read What You Own challenge, formerly known as the 100 Book Challenge. This challenge was created by the evil mastermind, Criminale, to help him read 100 books that he already owned before buying another book. The challenge has morphed over the years. I will leave a link to a video in the description of this one, telling you a little bit more about the history and the rules that apply. I have 2 other co-hosts, Crystal at Fiber Artsy and MJ at Reading This Life. My challenge is to read 25,000 pages of books that I already own before I can buy another book. I do have some exceptions, but this is week 5. What books have I been reading? The first book I finished was an audiobook, the 2023 novel Hideous, Progeny by C.E. McGill. It is 400 pages in the print edition. This is a difficult novel to encapsulate, to describe correctly. It is part Gothic horror novel, part historical fiction. It was also a Lambda Literary Finalist for lesbian fiction. Put all those things together, and what do you get? It is a story narrated by Mary, who is the great niece of Victor Frankenstein. She knows something about her uncle and that he disappeared somewhere in the Arctic, but that's really all that she knows, until she finds some notes from Victor. And at this time, it is the 1850s in England. There is a blaze of dinosaur sculptures opening up. People are just learning about the dinosaurs. And what Mary wants to do with her husband is use Victor's notes and recreate a hybrid dinosaur out of dead parts of animals. And you're going to ask yourself, why is this a lesbian novel? Well, I had to ask myself that a lot while I was listening to the audiobook, because it was not really clear from the beginning where that was going. And I'm not actually sure it's all that important until the very end. But is this a good novel? I enjoyed it. It is an interesting twist on the Frankenstein story, because it uses the ability to create life, like Victor Frankenstein did, in a different way. But it also asks, why should you be creating life? Do you have an obligation to the life that you've created or will create? And it's also very important because it talks about women in the science in the 1950s in England. Let us just say, and I'm sure you should know this already, that women scientists were not really appreciated back then. But Mary has the mind of a scientist. She is also compassionate. She has recently lost her daughter, who died soon after it was born. So she will eventually try to create something. Will her mothering instincts kick in? Well, that's something you're going to have to find for yourself. I don't think I am the best audience for this book, but it is actually pretty good. On my Kindle, I read Queen Esther by John Irving. This is his newest novel, published last month. It is described as a prequel to the Cider House Rules. Well, technically, that is true, but you don't have to read the Cider House Rules to understand Queen Esther. There are some scenes set in St. Cloud's. That was the orphanage that featured very heavily in the Cider House Rules. But Queen Esther takes the story in a different direction. You meet Esther when she is just about to turn 4 years old, and she has dropped off at St. Cloud's. She is a very precocious 3-4-year-old. She knows a lot. She knows that she comes from Jewish parents, and she identifies herself as a Jew, even at this early stage in her life. And that is important because John Irving wrote this book in part to his reaction when he was a student in Vienna during his 20s. He learned a lot about anti-Semitism, and I guess that has been brewing all these years, and he wanted to write a book about anti-Semitism and how the Jews survive. Now, Queen Esther herself is not actually the main character in this book. I'm just going to say that Esther has a son under some very unusual circumstances, very much in the Irving tradition. And then the novel takes the son and has him grow up and move to Vienna, where he in turn will father a child under some very unusual circumstances, very Irving-esque circumstances. And I'm not going to describe this novel in too much more detail. I am reading this with a group, The World According to John Irving, because we read the Cider House Rules last month, and we are continuing with Queen Esther this month, and most people are still reading the book. I think overall, this is a decent book. John Irving is a very, very solid writer. I don't think this has all the great hallmarks of a John Irving novel. It has those touches. It has those fathering children or mothering children under unusual circumstances, which I said are very much of an Irving touch. But is this a great novel? It will never be as great as A Prayer for Owen Meany or The World According to Garp. It's just not in that category. But if you want to read a fairly decent contemporary novel, this will provide some food for thought. Queen Esther is 432 pages long in the print edition. Switching between my Kindle and audiobook, I read Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. It is 224 pages in some print editions. This is the third time that I have read Childhood's End. I am reading it as a buddy read with Bad is Rad. Bad has not read a lot of classic science fiction, so I'm introducing her to that genre. She has not finished it yet as the recording of this video. But this novel takes place on Earth. One day there are 6, or is there 7, spaceships that descend from the stars and hover over major American cities. The aliens do not show themselves to humans, but the aliens do communicate to the humans and saying, "We will take care of you. We will raise you to greatness." And the aliens, known as overlords, essentially end war, end religion, and make the world productive and peaceful. But the aliens do not show themselves. The aliens do not say why they're on Earth and why they are helping humans. It is a big mystery. At the beginning of the novel, there is a main character. I forget his name already, but let's just say he be a member of the UN, a leader of the humans, and he is the main person who wants to communicate with the aliens. Or should I say, he is the person the aliens communicate to. But they communicate to him in secret. He cannot see what these aliens look like. They are a mystery to him, in physical form and in their desires to help humanity. The story moves forward from there as the character points of views shift and moves forward in time. Arthur C. Clarke himself was a scientist, and this is a very science-based novel. It is not a character-driven novel, and it's not really a plot-driven novel. It is a novel of ideas. The idea is, why would aliens visit? What reasons do they have? Because Arthur C. Clarke does have a reason for the aliens to be there, and readers will slowly figure it out for themselves. Childhood's End is a great classic of science fiction. Most science fiction readers probably have read this book before, but as this was my third time reading it, I can say it still is good the first time as it was the third time. A great book to read or reread. I'm a co-host for Cthulhu Christmas. Cthulhu Christmas is an event encouraging people to read the short stories of H.P. Lovecraft or other Cthulhu stories by other authors in the month of December. Last week, I read The Music of Erich Zann by H.P. Lovecraft. It was only 9 pages long. H.P. Lovecraft once said it was one of his favorite short stories, and I have to agree with him. It is one of my favorite stories by H.P. Lovecraft. The narrator is a poor student in Paris. To find cheap lodging, he finds an out-of-the-way street with a very decrepit building where he can rent a room very cheaply. But there's one thing he notices. In the top garret, there is a mute old German man who plays the viol late into the night. And the student goes to the man because he finds the music so fascinating. The old man at first wants nothing to do with the student, but eventually the old man, whose name of course is Erich Zann, lets the student listen to this wild and strange music. Music that the student can't quite understand. I'm not an expert in music. I'm not sure if H.P. Lovecraft was an expert in music, but I kind of imagined his viol playing something along the lines of Schoenberg or something like that. No real melody, just some tones of music coming out of the viol. But it becomes clear to the student that this old man is terrified of something, and this terror has something to do with his music. Go out and read this story. As I said, it's only 9 pages long, and I think any fan of horror fiction will enjoy this story. Okay, that is everything that I have read for week number 5 of the Read What You Own challenge. My minimum goal is 1,000 pages per week, and this week I finished 1,065 pages. The grand total for all 5 weeks so far is 5,189 pages. And if my math is correct, my percent completed for this challenge is 20.76%. I would like to pick up the speed if possible. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but let's see what happens in week number 6. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.